Hello and welcome. My name is Evelyne Brink. I work as a leadership presence and expression expert. And in this series, I'm going to talk you through why the gap between who you are when you're at your most powerful and who you become when you show up on camera or on stage is so wide and why it really is career defining when there is such a gap and how to close it. So, have you noticed that with all the rise of the wonderful AI content that we're so freely handed, actually showing up in a room and being powerful becomes harder and harder? Well, it's really fascinating to me because we've got access to fantastically crisp written information. So the way that we can present ourselves online becomes more and more polished. And then when people meet the real you, sometimes they can really feel the difference. It does remind me a little bit of the olden days where we had our photos photoshopped to the nth degree, and then you'd show up live and people go like, is that the same person? This is what's happening now with our content. And as much as it's wonderful to have all this articulation on hand and we all want to use it and are using it, the anxiety it produces in the individual is undeniable. So let's talk about what happens and how we can fix it, because it's not just my theory, but there's now big research behind the idea that what will distinguish us as human leaders is what is going to be the way forward in this day and age. So what I mean is we have more and more polished content, but we need leaders who bring that content to life. The person who transmits the information, who creates an experience out of all the words, that is a human. You are the leader whose job it is to create the experience, the atmosphere, the psychological safety, the willingness in the people who are following you to cooperate, to collaborate, and to do what you want them to do. And back in the days, when we grew up, back in the days, we were taught that leadership is all about authority and gravitas. And I think we can all see that the command and control culture is coming to an end. So now we need leaders who are really equipped to motivate, to inspire, to create, as I just said, experiences. If we have awkwardness inside, if we have anxiety rising, if we start feeling imposter syndrome 10 times harder than we did last year, clearly there's a problem. And the thing is this, you've already built a career. You have built expertise over the last decades. You've become mighty good at what you do. You're fantastic speaking one-to-one to a person. You're fantastic maybe even speaking to several people in a room when you know them. But as soon as you're standing up, delivering a presentation when the stakes are high, you might find yourself editing yourself, shrinking in the moment, becoming a really strange, contained version of the great power that you actually know that you have. So why is that happening and how can we fix it? That is why I get called into companies to work with their leadership team so that you can stand on a stage or lead a meeting over Teams or Zoom or whichever platform you prefer and actually create a valuable and engaging experience. Would that be valuable to you? Well, then you're in the right place. So why does the spine that you've built over decades melt and erode the moment that you hit the pressure? It's not just anxiety. It's not just your nerves. And I don't believe that you have a confidence issue, although I know that that's what we're likely to call it. But what is underneath is a nervous system response. So you've probably heard of the 3 stress responses, fight, flight, and freeze, but there's actually a 4th, which is fawning. And those 4 stress responses / trauma responses are actually responsible for you becoming a little bit weird and awkward when the red light goes on or when you hit the stage. I call the getting weird on stage or on camera performance-induced identity distortion. Basically, the way that we are gets slightly distorted when we are experiencing a stress response. So we have fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Let's look at how those symptomize in your body and voice. Fight response is when you experience yourself becoming stiff, and in your voice you might sound a little bit more assertive / aggressive. That is actually a fight response symptomizing through your voice and body. Most people that come to me seem to be having a combination of flight, freeze, and fawn responses. Now, before I go into that, I know you're wondering what on earth is fawning. Fawning is people pleasing, by which I don't just mean the tendency to be nice to people and to want to please people, but specifically on stage people pleasing will symptomize in a different way. So bear with me and I'll tell you all about it. So the flight response on stage manifests by extremely quick speaking, or also using your hands in this really nervy way because you're really trying to get away and rushing away. You just want to get away from this whole situation. So it manifests in a lot of pacing. You've seen those speakers who pace up and down the stage like a trapped polar bear. That's a flight response. They don't really want to be there. They don't know what to do with themselves, so they just want to get out. And breathe. Your voice might go up in pitch because when we are scared, when we're a little bit more hysterical, the voice seems to go up in pitch. This can be particularly annoying for female speakers. Male speakers tend to do the opposite and push their voices all the way down, which I would put more into the fight response, right? When you push your voice down to sound more assertive, because everybody is afraid of the shaky voice, which I would also say is a flight response when we start shaking. The waffle. Oh my goodness. You know the speakers who can't stop circling around the points, never to get to the actual conclusion? The waffle is definitely a flight response on stage or on camera. What else do we have? I think those are the main flight responses. Then we have, of course, the freeze. When your brain freezes and you forget what to say. And there, now we feel really stupid. Might get red in the face. Breathing gets really flat. We just want to go home. That is a freeze response, and that is probably the one that most people are the most afraid of. What do I do if I forget my words? What do I do if I suddenly don't know what to say? Well, what is happening in that moment is that your nervous system is going into stress. Therefore, your neofrontal cortex is shutting down. Your limbic system, the reptilian brain, is activated. And we do not have access to our really smart thinking anymore. Very, very uncomfortable. Leaders often want to know exactly what the solution is straight away without even understanding the problem. And the reason why most presentation skills training fails you is because people are doing just that. So you're going to get the tips of, well, focus on the 3 most important points that you want to share, or take a deep breath. Well, none of that is going to work under pressure because the diaphragm, that's the muscle that you need to relax so you can have a really deep breath, is literally the first muscle to tense up when you get even mildly stressed. So you can't just breathe deeper. So it's always easier said than done. Neither can you just focus on 1 to 3 most important points because, as I just explained, the neofrontal cortex is shut off, limbic system, reptilian brain is on, and it's interested in survival, not in being overly intelligent and academic. Haha. So what is the solution to this, I hear you ask? And I will get into it. But now I will also talk about the fawning. People pleasing on stage. What does that look like? It looks like this. Hi, I am so excited to be here. Today we're going to talk about the gap between who you are as a person and how you show up in a critical impact situation. I have been taught to smile so that I'm palatable and likable, but also because I'm scared to show myself. You see, this is a classic fawning response. I'm masking all my emotions with an exaggerated smile, and it comes across as fake. Because it is. So, fawning is people pleasing. We do it once through this fake smile, through overexcitement. Sometimes we literally get super duper excited. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. We're going to talk about. We've got those people. Guilty as charged on many occasions, for sure. We also have the body language that symptomizes that. In my case, when I was a singer, you have to imagine I was wearing these beautiful lace gloves and a lovely, I want to describe a lovely dress with, what's it called? Half see-through. Forgot the word now, but you get the picture. Diva style. and I would sing with my sultry voice, but I would always lean forward into the audience because I really needed to make sure everyone's okay and I'm giving my all. So that is fawning as its best. How might you be doing that? How are you trying to people please? When I work with leaders and I ask them what actually terrifies them the most, one of the answers I get is, I'm terrified that they will hate me. I just want them to like me. And I hear that from very powerful, very influential leaders. Isn't that fascinating? I just want to be liked. We are terrified of being disliked. Why is that? Because being disliked is traditionally very unsafe, and nobody wants to be unsafe. And now with that, we come to the big what's underneath the whole stress response thing, and that is your nervous system safety. When your nervous system is activated, you're having a stress response, you're feeling unsafe. That's what's happening in your body. And when you're feeling safe, you do no longer have to have those stress responses, meaning you have access to your brilliance. That's when you get relaxed. That's when you suddenly have these wonderful conversations. And when you watch other people's podcasts, or when you watch top speakers, when you watch people that you admire, that's the flow state they're in. They're not in stress, right? They are in nervous system safety. And then they're riding the waves from there, having a mighty good time with it. So what that means is the work we need to do is not showing you how to hold your hands or where to have your gaze. The work we need to do together is learning how to regulate your nervous system under pressure. Want to hear more about that? Let's talk about that in the next episode.